Hello everyone, welcome back again to the Education Diary, day number 2 of the R programming language. So today we are going to be understanding about writing a code, right? Because it's really important to understand that how to write a code and how we are going to execute this code. So here as you can see that I'm having up my R Studio open. If you're following up the series, so basically you get to know that yesterday we have implemented about installing the R language and installing the R Studio, and apart from that we also saw some of the R files which are actually predefined, and we basically visualize the data set of iris, right? Today we are going to understand that how we can start writing about kind of like an R file, kind of like visualizing, because you know that you are familiar with the Python but you're not familiar with the R programming language. So today, first of all, we are going to understand that how the syntaxes or the parameters are in the R programming language. So here, as you can see that I'm having up my R Studio being opened up, and this is my environment. Basically, you can see that this section is going to be having up my plots where I'm going to be visualizing. This is the environment where my variables are going to be saved. This is the we can say editor where we are going to write our code, and this is the output of our code, right? So these are actually four important sections, and of course, as I told you, that our programming language is basically being used in statistical mathematical operations as well as in the data visualizations, right? So let's start. So first of all, if you actually want to write a comment, so in Python also we are having something with a hash. So let me try if I can zoom this. I'm not sure, but let me try if I can zoom. So I hope so. Yeah, I can basically zoom. That's really good. So now basically you can see that I'm going to be having up my hash, which is going to be putting up comment. So here whatever I'm going to write, hello or whatever, right? So it's going to be working as a comment, because this is not going to have any output. So for an output I have to press control as well as enter on my Mac. Same goes with your Windows as well. So if I hit enter, so you can see in the result I'm not going to be having anything because this is a comment, right? Now apart from that, like suppose if I want to add anything else, so first of all, if I want to install or if I want to load any kind of library or a package, so the first thing is going to be in a package section, and you can basically tick or check mark. But these are some of the packages which the R Studio or the R official R basically provides you. But what if I want to install a third-party package, right? So for that we are going to be using a kind of like a syntax. First of all, if, right? So like suppose if I want to have, so I'm going to give it a name, loading the data sets or something like that, loading the packages, right? So that is something what we can do, or we can also say libraries, right? So this is something I'm going to do so that by line you can understand that what we are doing and what we are learning. So first of all, we are going to write if, right? This is going to tell us that yes, we want to include or install any kind of package or libraries. And apart from that, after that we are going to be having a semicircle brackets. We are going to put an exclamation mark to make it we can say forceful installation. And after that, once it's done, I'm going to be having a require. So here as you can see, it is going to be automatically going to do like this, right? So here as you can see, it's going to be require, and what we are going to do is we want to install something with the name ggplot2. It's basically giving you a suggestions as well, right? So it's basically giving you kind of suggestions that yes, what actually you want to install and how you want to install. So if I'm going to run this kind of script, so as you can see that it's basically being installed. Please ignore this one, unexpected end of document, because as usual our document hasn't been ended yet. So there is a different syntax of ending of the document. Same goes with the we can say Python or in the HTML, right? So we have to end a specific language in a specific way. So this is actually a kind of syntax to install any kind of package. So here as you can see, once if I hit enter, so you can see that it is being loaded without any problem, and the mark has been changed from the greater than to the plus sign, which actually shows that yes, our package has been installed. Now suppose if I tell you to install any other package, so like suppose if I want to install something which is dplyr, and suppose I can search here as well in the packages in the D section. So you can see that this is the library which I want to install. I can basically click here. So if I click here, you can see that loading required package blah blah blah, and if I'm going to uncheck, so it is going to be unchecking, right? So it is going to detach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply first of all use of the same command which I used above. I'm going to copy up this line and I'm going to paste up this line here. But you have to remember that your line, you don't need to give any kind of we can say something like intonations, right? So you don't need to actually give that one. So you have to understand that where the mouse pointer or where actually is our we can say cursor, right? So if I'm going to install this library, so as usual the name is written here, which is dplyr, right? So if I control and enter, so now you can see that the library has been installed successfully. Previously it was not installed because the syntax was wrong, so our cursor was somewhere here. So when I run the command there, so you have to understand, right? Even my cursor is here, and if I want to install this kind of library, it is going to fail. So our cursor needs to be where it is, right? So that is really important. Now once again, if I'm going to install these kind of libraries, I have to use these libraries inside my R programming language. So in order to include or in order to use these libraries in my R programming language, I'm simply going to write install packages, right? And after that, I'm going to give the string value, which is going to be ggplot. So let's give it the ggplot2, right? Because this is a name. And after that, I'm going to have the another parameter, which is going to be dependencies. So the dependencies is going to be what? So as usual, whenever we are installing, so it's going to be true, right? So you have to understand that dependencies can be false, either it can be true. All right, now this same thing again, I have to use the what we can say another package inside my this R program. So I'm simply going to use this one here as well, and I just need to change the name of this to dplyr. So now if I'm going to control and hit enter, so you can see that loading required package dplyr, attaching package, the following objects are masked. For this filter log, the following objects are masked, blah blah blah. So in order to execute these kind of things, we need to end the documents, which is going to be our programming, right? So this is something really important. I hope so that you basically understood that how the programming is working here. All right, I can basically also make some changements so that there is no error in future. All right, so now these are the two libraries which we are going to use in order to visualize our data set, right? So once again, if I'm going to load up the library, so I can simply write library. Which library I want to use? I want to use ggplot2. It is going to give suggestion, and I want to use another library which is going to be dplyr, which basically I have loaded in my R programming, right? So this is quite the syntax. It's not very hard. And once again, if I'm going to hit enter, so you can see now this time there is no error and it has executed successfully, right? So if I clean up this one and if I re-enter, so you can see that there is no error, because right now our libraries are loaded and ready to use in our document, and we have also included so that we can further proceed and use them, right? So this is something which is really important. The syntax is really important, means it's quite important. If my mouse cursor is somewhere else and if I execute the program, it will not run. So that is the problem, and sometimes these kind of things really create headaches, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a kind of data set which can be, previously we have took iris, right? So if you do remember, we were having iris. Now this is the data set which I can load. This is the iris3 data set which I can load. So suppose if I take iris and if I hit and take my mouse pointer here and if I hit enter, so you can see that this is going to be my first 6 hit or the file of that. Now the another we are having a lot of things, right? So I can take a lot of things. I can take empty cars data set. So you can basically try multiple data sets if you want. So if I hit empty cars and if I hit enter, so now you can see that this is going to be mpgs, higher dispose, hp rat, wt, and so many other things inside are this kind of we can say file or programming, right? Now once again, this is just a visualization that yes, we want to execute our file and we want to visualize the data set. So this is going to be the one which we are going to use by the command or head, right? So I do think so that you are able to understand. So like suppose if I want to give again a kind of comment, so that can be anything. So this is used for visualizing the data set. All right, so it can be anything. I'm just writing a comment so that you can understand time to time that what command we have used, right? So Just ignore the spellings because really I'm not right now into spellings. All right, so I hope so that it's clear till now. And after that we are going to be having the next thing. Now the next thing is going to be, what if you want to have a scatter plot? So yesterday we do have checked about the bar graphs, we do have checked about the scatter plots, but we just use the pre-default libraries or the files. So today we are going to be understanding how we can implement a scatter plot inside our visualized we can say dataset, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take ggplot, because this kind of thing is going to be taking and creating a scatter plot. So ggplot is basically used in creating a scatter plot, so as well as a bar graph. So I'm going to take ggplot. So first of all, I have to give some we can say parameters. So that parameters is first of all the data set itself. So I'm going to take empty cars, and I'm going to take comma, and after that I want to take AES, and inside this I'm going to be having the x-axis as well as y-axis. So I'm going to take HP, right? So here, as you can see, what kind of axis I want to take. So I want to take HP, as well as if I want to take any other one, so it can be MPG, right? So we can take x equal to HP and y equal to MPG. So I hope so that till here you are fine, you are going fine, right? Now apart from that, there is another parameters which we do need to take, and that is going to be, so first of all we are going to take plus. Now in the Python, if you have double colons here and if you hit enter, so you are going to be having what we can say your mouse pointer here, right? Which is also known as, I'm not sure about the name right now, I'm not getting the name. It is having a specific word for that, right? But in the R programming language, if you have plus and after that you are going to hit enter, so your mouse pointer is going to be coming here. So that is actually important to understand. All right, and here I'm going to take the jump point. We are going to take jump point, right? So it is going to be creating the points, scatter points onto our graph. And once again, if I'm going to plus and if I hit enter, so you can see it is going to have this one. And for this one I'm going to take labs. So let's take labs, and we are going to have our title of the labs, because like what we want to have the name of x-axis and y-axis, so we are going to take this one here, right? So I'm going to take the title as let's take miles per gallon, right? Because we are using empty cars, and this is basically being taken with MPG, miles per gallon versus horsepower, right? So that is the full form. Let's take this one, horsepower, and I hope so everything is fine. What we can do is we can have comma, and we can basically write what actually x is and what actually y is. So x is basically horsepower, and in the same time we are going to have another comma, and y is basically what we have taken here, miles per gallon, right? So we can write this as well, miles per gallon. I hope so everything is fine till now. And once again I'm going to add another plus sign, and I'm going to close up this kind of what section, the function with the name what we are going to use, which we are going to use as theme as minimal. So I hope so that you basically understand. This is kind of like similar with the Python. If you know programming language, so you will be easily able to understand that how the functions, the variables are being declared. So it's really easy. So now if I'm going to take my mouse pointer here and if I hit enter, so you can see that we are going to be having our scatter plot here, right? So this is the x-axis which we named as horsepower, and this is the y-axis which is miles per gallon, and as usual x-axis is being declared with the 100, 200, 300, as well as the y is basically taking up the series of numbers starting from 10. So here in the columns also you can see that what numbers are basically being taken. So HP is basically starting from 93. So it is kind of like understandable to say that yes, the data set is also starting from 0, 100 and 200, while the MPG is having the minimum of 18, right? So 18.1, so it is starting from 10, 15, 20 and so on. So basically you can understand that how easily it is working. It's not having a very, we can say, high level of programming language. It's very easy, right? It just needs some practices of understanding that how basically the things are working on. Alright, now this is basically for the scatter plot. We have taken ggplot and we have taken the theme minimal, right? So these are two important things, and we are having the third important function, which is the geom point. So all these three are really important to understand in creating the scatter plot, right? So let me just write a comment, scatter plot. Alright, and now let's try to take something kind of like histogram, because these are some of the important visualizations, right? So for histogram, what we are going to take, again we are going to take a ggplot, right? And this time I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to copy up this whole code, because I don't need to write another new code. I can just make some customizations in this, and we are going to be having up that one. So we are having, first of all, ggplot, which we need the library or the package to use the histogram. AES is going to be up. So in histogram, we are not going to be taking two variables. So first of all, I'm just going to take one variable. So that is going to be the mpg, right? So I hope so. This is fine. And after that, I'm not going to be using geom point, because point is going to be for the scatter plot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use histogram. So if I write this one, so you can basically see it will automatically write a geom histogram. Right, this histogram is going to be having some parameters inside it. So first of all, we have to understand that a histogram is having bins, right? So we need to declare some bin width, what the width we want. So let's take 1 or 2, that is really easy, and we want the histograms to be fill, right? So we are going to take fill with what color we want. So let's take with blue. So we want the histograms to be blue in color. All right, and once it's being done, so you can see it is basically in blue color right now. So after that, the color of the outer layer, what we want is let's take black, right? So I think so everything is fine here. We have to change the title, right? So now labs.title, we are going to be having this one. So what we can do is we can rename this one to distribution. So of miles, of course, per gallon, right? So that is something we can give a name. All right, so now again we have to give this one. So let's take x-axis as miles per gallon, right? And let's take y as a frequency. I hope so everything is fine. And theme is going to be minimal. Theme you can basically change, right? So let's try to execute this one, and here we are. So here, as you can see, that the outer lines are in black and the inner is blue. So as usual, you can basically change for whatever you actually want to take, right? This is like something really basic what we are doing, right? If you are going to be having a very huge data set that can be of 1 GB or 2 GB, so the graphs are going to be really, we can say, close to each other. So you cannot actually study the data set. So in order to study those data sets, you have to use some cleansing techniques in order to make your data set small, right? So I hope so you understand this kind of thing. So we have done scatter, we have done histogram. We basically learned how to include a library or a package inside our programming language and how to use those packages, right? So now if we can go with something, anything else, we can go with the bar graphs, or we can take box plot. So same, the fundamental is really same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to just change the histogram to something with the name box plot, right? So it's same, it's nothing else. So first of all, empty cars we are going to take. In this one, in the box plot, we do need to give two parameters, right? So what I can give is anything else we can take from this one. So what we can take from this one, right? Let's take x as a factor of cylinder, right? So let's take factor of cylinder. So we are going to use cylinder, and we are going to take y equal to mpg. Let's take mpg only, and plus is there. So in this one, I'm going to change the histogram to the box plot, right? And this box plot should be having a parameter. I think so it shouldn't have any parameter, it's really fine. Let's remove the parameters. Once we are having plus, labs or title is going to be, now this one per gallon it was, now this time we are taking cylinders. So by number of cylinders, right? Because we have taken the cylinders. So x is going to be number of cylinders, and y is going to be miles per gallon, right? Because in up we have written this, so let's take miles per gallon here. Alright, theme is going to be once again, well, let's take minimal only. So if I hit enter, so we are going to be having up our box plot, right? So as usual, you do require the parameters that can be x factor of cylinders and y equal to mpg. You can take different parameters if you want. I have taken mpg. If you want, you can go here and you can change to anything else. Let's take qsec, right? So I can take qsec, and if I hit enter, so now this is going to be your visualization. Alright, so you can actually play with different columns and rows in order to get the box plots or the we can say histogram. So here also x equal to mpg. Instead of mpg, let's take sil, right? And if I hit this one, so you can see that this is the visualization of the cylinder column. All right, now these are some of the very basic techniques. In the future sections, if you do want to learn the R programming language, you can contact the education diary. We do have a full R programming language course as well, and you can get certification in that. So now today that's it only for today for R programming language to visualizations, how basically the programming language itself works. And in the future we are going to be having another webinars as well. So if you do have any problem, make sure to send an email to the education diary. Meet you next week for the next webinar. Till then, everyone, take care and bye bye.